Okay, so I do want to show, I'm looking for the entity that's talking about helicopter because they're amplifying helicopter activity inside of my apartment, but I don't see any helicopter here for you to see on video, but I do want you to see the engineered light that's all over the people of the state. This is impossible light activity, and I want to give you the time. It's currently 6:14 p.m. The entity is maintaining engineered light all over the property, and this is after I've left the work office. You saw all day the light source is covered up. It's supposedly a gray day. The entity is also group stalking by helicopter, doing so as a matter of documentation at 5:30 p.m., amplifying helicopter activity flying directly over my apartment. And I'm looking at now the entity that is covering what is all engineered light. None of this is sunlight, okay? The entity is engaging in what is, for example, a light source that remains at the Upland Public Library, and this is as late as 6:30 p.m., okay? Walking out at 6 p.m. I'm on Euclid Avenue in Upland, California. There's no sun that's going to be covering the property. This is the same hillside where I've shown you the sun rise. Okay, this is under all circumstances not sunlight. This is the same engineer light you see on my ceiling, and it's covering all the property, and they're group stalking while the entity was flying over my apartment while I'm inside of my apartment. That was at 5:35 p.m. I wanted to see because the entity is engaged in ongoing helicopter activity, and these are the cowards that are scared for me to capture them stalking by helicopter. Okay, and by scared I mean that they're sounding helicopter and running off. They're flying over my apartment and trying to do so very quickly, even though I have them all day long stalking a helicopter. And while the entity is covering up the light source, this is the impossible light activity at all times. For you to see this at any time of day is equally impossible as the light source. So I'm going to show you the engineered light that's inside of my bedroom. That's the engineered light that's speaking to the presence of stalking by the state. Like I said, one aspect of the pattern of conduct is present because all other aspects are present. Okay, this is the engineered light that's on the carpet. This is, again, it is currently 6:15 p.m. The entity is engaging in what is a so-called light source, a so-called sun, outside of the windows of the state facilitating event, the Arrowhead Regional Medical Center at 6:28 p.m. I'm inside of that facility where the entity engaged in kidnapping. Engineered light is shooting into the depths of that facility on the floor, and it's engineered light that you're seeing while I turn the camera to the window inside of that facility, and the window is at a distance away from the ground where that light is shooting inside like a laser. That's not sunlight. And also I show you the light source that's outside of the window. Arrowhead Regional Medical Center is in Colton, California. That's San Bernardino, okay, Rialto area, Southern California, San Bernardino County. That's not creating any sunlight, and that is, again, it is 6:16 p.m. And I also want you to be aware of the fact that the entity is doing this with regard to what is maintaining the absence of the light source all day long. When I go inside of my apartment, this is the same cowardice conduct. Then you have the light source. This is speaking to everybody the entity is stalking. This is as telling as the amplification of plane activity, telling on who somebody's stalking. That was access. That's LA County group stalking. All 9 board members, okay, being documented while they're engaged in facilitating, and knowingly so. They can claim whatever they want, but that's the P.O.C. I'm speaking to the prima facie case, the ongoing analysis of the unnatural environment. And this is engineered light. You're talking about what is the impossible light activity, and that's speaking to what is the presence of stalkers, okay? The targeted light source, the targeted placement of the light source, the magnified light, light that is shooting through like a laser through my windows, but also at the same time it's necessarily going all around the buildings, I suppose, to create light activity all over the hillside on the opposite side of my apartment. This is the same venue where you're looking at engineered light that's appearing on my ceiling. It's appearing on the side of the walls. It's dynamic, moving depending on which group stalker is crossing path. All of that is speaking to engineered light. None of it is a sunlight, and you're not forgetting that when you're looking at the pattern of conduct. This is a light source at 6:14 while the entity is stalking by helicopter. All right, it is currently, again, 6:17 p.m. This is group stalking by virtue of recognizing the environment. And all third-party group stalkers that live here are going to federal prison. And this is why Lucy Santos has no legal argument, okay? And this is the body of evidence that goes against at the individualization of that federal prosecution, all of an entity that's engaging in ganging up on a target individual. The entity is going to be sliced down and individualized, and Lucy Santos is literally going to be bullied with evidence against her when she is going to face federal prison with all the evidence against her. And this light source, this impossible light inside of my apartment, the entity stalking by helicopter, is evidence that Lucy Santos is going to be prosecuted by. Speaking to the entity's criminal system and the fact that she is living at the crime scene, you are inevitably engaged in that P.O.C., which is not stopping because you want to present something legally irrelevant, such as your work schedule. It is currently, again, 6 18 p.m. This is P.O.C. This is documentation of the sex offense, and this is the evidence of what is the entity that is stalking and engaging in the sex offense while I'm inside of the private space. And under no schedule, no iteration of the natural environment, under any circumstances, is there going to be a sun in alignment with my apartment in Los Angeles. And I'm going to prosecute Lucy Santos with this. This is P.O.C. Stalking by helicopter. That is the entity providing an admission against Lucy Santos. That is the entity that is stalking in concert with Lucy Santos. Lucy Santos is a third-party group stalker and a demon-possessed one who also employs her children in engaging in terrorism in concert with that LAPD, who is providing evidence against her, not in any way taking any sort of blame or ownership. Dominic Choi and no demon of the Los Angeles Police Department are capable of doing so. They are group stalking in concert with all of the people that are acting in concert with that entity that's represented not only by Lucy Santos. She's engaged in a criminal cooperative effort, and that is evidenced by her residence at a crime scene, such as the facilitating venue, where you're looking at the evidence of the state by targeting by location, flying over my apartment, targeting by the light source in front of my apartment, targeting with the impossible light in front of my apartment, targeting by the engineered light that's covering all of the people of the state all around, and what is an unnatural environment under all circumstances at all times of day. And that same police department, I'm thankful for it very much, because that's exactly what they were doing while I was inside of my kitchen, flying and doing hurriedly flying over the apartment, amplified audible activity in doing so, and the engineered light. That is the evidence of group stalking. All right, I want to be clear, while they're amplifying plane activity and stalking in the path with light, which is what Access was doing, that's exactly what Access is doing. Access is engaging in the criminal system, and all nine members sitting on that board of directors are directly engaged in that criminal system. That's the LA County is what Access is, the public entity. And I want to be clear that the Los Angeles Police Department is providing evidence against all of that entity that is acting as one. You do not have amplification and innocence with regard to facilitation, which is that video evidence that I showed you earlier today, when Access is group stalking and the entity is providing the ongoing criminal facilitation via amplification. Using a plane engaging in the same stalking in the airspace, the same amplification speaking to targeting. You're looking at what is light activity in the light source speaking to targeting, in concert with that very state that you just saw providing evidence against the entirety of the people of the state. The criminal co-conspirator who are going to be individualized at their federal prosecution. All 59 units are filled with third parties here. They are documented sex offenders, and they're also living with minor children who will be removed from their custody for engaging in this state surveillance system in concert with that corrupt law enforcement agency. And that is Dominic Choi signing off on group stalking, while the Los Angeles Police Department fly over in this video, engaged in federal stalking and the boldness with which they engage in that criminal conduct to the demise of the people of the state. But that is justice. Okay, that foolishness is serving justice, so I'll take it, okay? But nonetheless, there's no sunset outside of the window. That's what you're going to prosecute with, facts and evidence, and that's what Lucy Santos is going to face. There's no evidence of a natural environment when you are going to juxtapose the environment here and the light source, for example, at what is the Arrowhead Regional Medical Center outside of that window of that facility, where the entity engaged in a light source at 6:28 p.m. There is no light activity and there is no light source that will be outside of my bedroom window, and it is replete with the stalking of the LAPD. That is the state that is providing ongoing corroboration, which I don't even need when you have all of the hallmarks present. This is the environment where the entity is indeed stalking in helicopters at that. While I am prosecuting Lucy Santos by name, I'm literally going to use this tape when I'm specifically prosecuting her, but this is a template because all 59 units are going to have the same fate. Whether or not they have minor children is a detail, but they're all going to federal prison. Okay, and the Los Angeles Police Department, as you're witnessing them engage in state terrorism, that's exactly why they're going to be disbanded. That's exactly why Dominic Choi is removed. He is permanently removed from law enforcement and from his position as chief of police, because this state terrorism is occurring on his watch, and he is not ignorant of it. And there is no reasonable grounds to assert that as a chief of police, you are ignorant of the public corruption that is underway by the men and women of this corrupt law enforcement agency. They are a demon-infected department. It is department-wide. I want to let you know that as well. And the chief of police is demon-possessed as well. And I want to be clear, this is in conformity to a state system. You have a group of police departments documented engaging in the same exact pattern of conduct, and that's also going to be used to juxtapose the environment that Lucy Santos lives in, speaking to what is beyond a reasonable doubt with regard to her being a group stalker, living at a crime scene, and where you are any of those things, you are going to federal prison for the intolerable facilitation based on the state that just provided evidence of the fact that it is indeed engaged in state surveillance. You're engaged in terrorism with that entity, providing any systematic facilitation. That's exactly what's going to be your punishment. And the entity is engaging in what is providing evidence against Lucy Santos, okay? And this is also speaking to the fate of the police departments that are documented engaging what Dominic Choi and the LAPD are engaging in. And that is also speaking to an impossible coincidence. It is indeed the state surveillance system. This is criminal surveillance, America's version of terrorism. Okay, and that is also, all of that is reasonably deduced through the entity flying over me while you're looking at the light source, while you're looking at engineer light, while you're looking at engineer light covering all the hillside, and the entity flies over me by helicopter. That is the P.O.C. It is currently 6:24 p.m.